Welcome to Down the Line with Charlie and Bo. I'm Sam Wilson. Charlie and Larry love to share stories, and today they'll be joined again by team bus driver Al Norfleet and longtime travel secretary and clubhouse manager Frank Kopenbarger, having fun recalling some of their favorite times on the team together, and it's all coming up next on Down the Line. Down the Line is brought to you in part by the Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board. Visit Montgomery County's main streets. Find out more at makeitmainstreet.com.
They're not just familiar faces. They're your friends and neighbors. It's their small businesses, a beating heart that makes a neighborhood a home, where personality is served on a plate and imagination paints a brighter world. A place where fresh is always in stock with a personal touch passed down through generations. Support small and make a big difference. Make it local. Make it Main Street. Make it Montco.
Welcome back. Never shy about getting his face on TV during a game, Charlie and Larry share some stories about Frank Kopenbarger, making sure he always found the camera.
Frank used to stand behind me every night, especially just to get on TV, things like that. And I used to tell him, I said, "You standing behind me like you're helping me manage." And he says, "Well, somebody's got to help you." And I turned around, looked at him, and then he's back there one night, and he's right behind me, and something happened in the game, and I said, "All right, Frank, what are you thinking now? Tell me what you would do." And he'd go, "Well, that's why you make the big bucks." And I go, "Yeah, that's exactly what I thought." But anyway, after the game, when the game's over and we win the game,
which was a lot,
like I would always come in right up to the clubhouse, right in the front door there, and scream and holler, "That's the way to go, everybody!" But blink, Frank Copenhagen. I said Copenhagen, and they'd go, "Yeah, Copenhagen."
Oh yeah, that was
always
big.
Holler
They
and
loved
scream,
it.
and they'd always laugh and get on Frank about it.
Yeah, they did.
You know how that started though? It started, we didn't win as much as Chuck's team won, but he would only come out when we were getting ready to score runs, because he knew we didn't score that many runs, so it was a little dead. And every time we had the bases loaded or something, I turned around and he's over my right shoulder, and I said, "What's going on here?" He says, "Well, we're going to need a little camera time every now and then." And that's
Well,
how
if it was road games, I did it so my kids would know where I was.
That's a good call. That's a good call.
They always show the manager.
And the other one was, he'd always come out when he knew I was going to get run out of a ball game.
I love that.
He says, "I love those shows." So every time I got kicked out, Frank was on the top step there. But we had a lot of fun with all that stuff. And I think Chuck and I broke you and Al in pretty good. Chuck, I got one for you. When you're the manager or even a coach, you expect a little upgrades, okay?
Right.
So I'm not going to name the hotel, but we're staying in San Francisco. And Patty, my wife, and I get ready to go into our room, and I put the key in. This room was a shoebox, and I said, "This is wrong. I know this isn't our room." So she says, "No, don't make any waves. Do it tomorrow." So I said, "Okay." So we slept there that night. So I go in the next day, and in front of everybody, I said, "Hey, Frank, I got a question. How'd you allot these rooms?" And he goes, "Why?" And I said, "Mine's as big as a shoebox." And he goes, "Oh, it can't be that small." And I said, "I'm going to tell you how small it is." I laid on the bed. I put my foot up. I changed the channel with my foot, and I flushed the toilet with my other foot. That's how big that room was. And he looked at me like I had 10 heads. He goes, "Bo, I will take care of that. I will." In all fairness to Frank, he did take care of it, but that's the smallest room I've ever been in my life.
That's not the last time he was unhappy with his room, though.
Oh, you're talking about L.A.?
No. Well, I don't even remember that, but we went to Milwaukee, and I'm not going to say the name of the hotel, but he was mad about his room and where we stayed.
Sister?
Yeah, that's the name of the hotel. So he decided to leave the shower curtain open for 3 straight days and flood his room in protest to the shabby conditions that the Phillies were staying in. That's when he was a coach, not the manager.
Yeah, I did. I have to admit I did do that. I turned the shower on, and it just so happened that there was so much water it went down the floor beneath us, and I think I made my point though, didn't I?
Oh yeah, you always made your point.
We know how fiery Larry is. Even till today, he's still the fiery guy. But it was my rookie year, and I'm still kind of learning second base because I played shortstop my whole career. So I only played 1 year in AAA at second base, get called up to the big leagues. So there's a runner on first, and the guy puts down a sacrifice bunt, and I forget to cover first base. So I look in the dugout, and Larry's at the top step, arms crossed, just staring at me, giving me that evil eye, and I know what's coming. And it's the only time I've ever wanted the team to score like 30 runs, so I didn't have to come into the dugout. But, you know, the inning ends, I come in, and I'm like not even 10 yards from the dugout, and he's screaming at me, you know, and I get it, I get it. And I'll tell you this, when Larry yells at you, you learn, and I never not covered second base or first base again, so it was a good teaching lesson for me.
John, what's your favorite Larry Bowa story?
Well, I want to preface this by saying that I learned how to play baseball because of him. But when I was in San Diego my rookie year, they sent me out to Las Vegas where Larry was managing. And so I left that day, drove up to Vegas. I walk in the next day, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing here? You got 3 days to report." I said, "But I want to play. I just want to play. I'm tired of sitting around watching, doing nothing." So I was 6 days. I couldn't make it out. And I was hitting everything, line drive here, line drive there. And Jack McKeon calls, our general manager, called and said, "Hey, we're bringing him back up." And he goes, he said, don't let the stats fool you. He said, he's blooping stuff. He hadn't hit a ball hard all the time he's here. He said, you might want to keep him here for a couple more weeks. And I'm like, so that night, he told me that story, and I hit a triple. And I slid into third, and he was coaching third. And he goes, all right, you're going back up to the big leagues. I'm like, oh, perfect, but I love him. And, we had a lot of guys from San Diego that were indifferent because, he told the truth. A lot of people didn't want to hear it, but I learned more about baseball from him. And we text during every freaking game. He texted me, oh my God, but he's the best. And I love him to death. But yeah, he tried to keep me down in AAA for 2 more weeks because they were making a playoff run. I said, man, keep me down there. That's not right. But we made it. And then he got to be manager. That was the best. So when he got fired, I called him and he said, you want to play in Philly? I said, yeah, better than here. Who wants to leave San Diego to go to Philly? He said, I'll go when I go back. He said, I'll make sure we get you over here. So the next June, I got traded to the Phillies. So he made my career. He's the reason why I played and did what I did, because of him.
I think my favorite Larry Bowa story is when we played in LA in 2008, and I think Matt Kemp, he slid in third base, and there's a really tough call in third base, and they call him out, and then Larry Bowa started arguing with the third base umpire, the second base umpire, and the home plate umpire. And by the way, he got out of the game, and after he got out of the game, he started throwing some humming, some bat all over the field, and he got suspended for 5 days. And one thing about that story, that make me so happy that I have opportunity to coach third base for 5 days because he got suspended for 5 days. But at the same time, about Larry, I have a lot of nice things to say about him. I learned so much from him. He's a great baseball guy. He teach me how to play the game in the right way, and he teach me how to coach too, And every time that you're talking about Larry Bowa, I don't have nothing more to say about him than a lot of good things. Great guy, great human being, great husband, great father, great friend, and I love him to death.
It's great to hear stories from former players. We'll be back with more next. Welcome back. Next up, Larry and Al Norfleet talk about a bag that was left on the bus with a very big surprise.
All right, we are back and we're sharing a lot of stories here. Al, you know, I've been on a lot of buses where I've left my phone or a briefcase or something on the bus. Is there anything that stands out in your mind as a bus driver for a team that you go, are you kidding me?
Yes, absolutely. Several years ago, the Phoenix Suns was in town playing the Sixers. We dropped them back off at the airport. I get home, my phone started to ring, and the guy said, you know, we left a bag. I said, okay, well, I'll turn it into my office tomorrow and she can send it to you. Okay, no problem. So they called 4 or 5 more times, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning. And they said, well, look, we really need that bag. So I said, well, let me go to the car and get this bag, see what's in it. So I bring the bag in the house, I look in it, $50,000.
$50,000?
$50,000. So I told him, I said, well, look, yes, I have the bag, but you know, I live an hour away from the airport. I'm not coming back. I take it to my house, take it to my office. Mary Ann can send it off to you. And we did that the next day. When I got to the airport, the lady said, no, we're not touching this. So they was in New York 2 days later, so I kept it, took it to New York and gave it to them.
Tell you what, you could have put it in the bag and got some extra stuff.
Testing your honesty.
Oh, yeah.
You got another one, don't you? Frank,
Yeah.
You said?
Stuff gets left on the bus. Sometimes it's people.
No, come on.
So we're going out to the Philly airport after a game, and I get off the bus. Everybody gets off the bus, and you get on the plane. You know, it drops you off right at the steps. You get on the plane, and you assume that everybody is on board. It takes at least a half hour to load everything up. So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden my cell phone rings, and it's Al. He goes, we got a little problem. So-and-so was in the players' bus. He was in the bathroom. And everybody's on the plane, and we've already left the grounds of the airport. So we had to like go through a lot of hoops to get this guy back inside and get him on the plane, believe it or not.
I'm sure you didn't hear anything from the players, right?
Oh yeah, it's my fault. It's my fault. Hey, he's lucky you weren't the manager. We'd have left him.
Oh yeah, we did. Oh, that would have been official. Let's go. Let me ask you a question. I heard bits and pieces of the Keys in Florida. It involved Charlie.
Well, occasionally Charlie might need help remembering some things that, like where his computer was, or things along those lines. So, you know, that's why we had jobs. We were there to take care of him. So anyway, we were playing a spring training series of 3 games over in Jupiter. And it's getaway day, and that's like a 4-hour bus ride across the state of Florida after the game. And, you know, we've been gone for 3 days, so, you know, everybody wants to get home. So the game ends, and we're just about ready to get on the bus, and Charlie goes, Frank, I got to go back to the hotel. I'm like, why? We already checked out of the hotel. He goes, I left my car keys in my room. And I'm like, why are your car keys in Jupiter? Your car's in Clearwater. We're riding the bus. So I called over there, and of course, you know, the room had already been cleaned, and now the keys are in the lost and found, and we got to get a manager. And well, it added about another hour and a half to the ride home, but it's okay. It was good to have on him in case anything ever happened, you know.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, I got one more. It happened in Pittsburgh at Three River Stadium. Now, everybody knows, Charlie knows me, and Frank knows me, and Al knows me, that I hate losing. So I'm coaching third. It's a Sunday afternoon, and we are getting crushed. I mean, it might have been 12-1 or 12-2. And Frank and I went in on a pool for the Indy 500.
So you weren't that busy over on third.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't have too much action down there at third. So I'm down there coaching. And if you remember Three River Stadium, the dugout's over to my right, and you can see everything. And I'm like this, and I'm sweating, and I'm angry, I'm mad. And he goes, psst, Bo. And I look up, and he's pointing to the scoreboard. And I went, you know, basically I said, I know what the score is. He goes, So I look up again and it tells the winner of the Indy 500, and him and I went in partners together, and I'm down at third going, yeah!
Rick Mears has won the Indianapolis 500 is what it said. That was 1991.
I can honestly tell you that's the first time that I ever showed that kind of, because we had no chance of winning that game, and I looked up and I went, yeah!
It was big too because just, you know, that was Memorial Day, and earlier that month, we also shared a horse and won the Kentucky Derby. We had a pretty good month of May that year.
As far as baseball was not concerned.
Baseball was bad, but the players contributed well to us.
Yeah, they sure
we liked
did.
it.
Ben, what's your favorite Larry story?
Well, there's multiple stories, really. We have a little workroom where we get ready for the broadcast at the ballpark, and inevitably we get a knock on the door, particularly if there was a bad game the night before. There's a little knock on the door, and Larry peeks his head in, and he goes, "How about this bleeping guy?" And it's like every day, if something went badly, it was like, and then he'll just go on this tangent about what went wrong the night before. And I love it because I just love his passion for the game, and it brings a smile to our faces.
All right, so first one, the Charlie Manuel story. So back when Charlie when I was first with the Phillies, I left after 5 years. I was about 340 pounds, and Charlie was over 300 pounds before both of us lost our weight. So we left San Diego, the ballpark one time, and San Diego's known for their rickshaws. So I walked out of the ballpark with him. He said, "Come on, Tom, let's get in a rickshaw." So we both went into this rickshaw, and this poor guy had to wheel both of us back to the hotel. And he goes, "I got this," and he gave him like $60 for like a mile and a half. And the poor guy was like walking like this after he was done with it. I mean, there's many other stories, but just to see Charlie's interaction with the guy, and neither one of us, you know, we both felt very much self-deprecating. It was pretty entertaining. Larry Bowa's story. So back when I first started with the Phillies, I did the Larry Bowa show when he was the manager. We used to do it at a car dealership. And to watch him interact with people was just unbelievable. But I will say that they both have become dear friends, and I lean on them for a lot, and they just make me laugh just watching them.
We'll be right back with more from Charlie and Bo.
They're not just familiar faces, they're your friends and neighbors. It's their small businesses, a beating heart that makes a neighborhood a home, where personality is served on a plate and imagination paints a brighter world. A place where fresh is always in stock with a personal touch passed down through generations. Support small and make a big difference. Make it local. Make it Main Street. Make it Montco.
Welcome back. Next up, Frank Kopenbarger tells us a story about how important Charlie was to that 2008 team and what they did in memory of his mother.
All right, we are back with Al and Frank and Charlie, and I understand you have another story you'd like to share about Chuck.
Yeah, this one's a little different. It's not like a funny story or you know, it's a great remembrance because it's a really, really nice story, but it's not like a kibitzing from clubhouse, you know, stories or anything like that. When we won the division series or the league championship series in 2008 against the Dodgers.
Thanks.
Sorry. Sorry about that, Bo. But Charlie and Missy actually flew home. Charlie lost his mom during that series. And so they flew home on a private plane to have her funeral service. So the players on our team, you know, we're talking Utley, Rollins, Burrow, you know, that great group of guys that we had, they came to me and said, "Hey, we want to do something for Charlie. You know, why don't we like bring his whole family in for the World Series?" And I said, "That's really nice, but Charlie just told me," he goes, "I don't want to put that on Missy, and I can't deal with all that. And you know, I want to be able to concentrate on the series, and I think it's too much." And he didn't know that was even going to be offered. I mean, he could have very easily done that himself if he wanted. So I said, "I don't think Charlie's comfortable with that." I said, "Maybe something else." So it came to me that Charlie had told me how close and how his mother was to her local church back home. So I said to the guys, I said, "Why don't we why don't you guys make a contribution to Mrs. Manuel's church? That might be something really nice that would mean a lot to the town folk where they're from. So they said, yeah, no problem. We'll take care of collecting the money. You handle it, line it up. So I found out the name of the church. I called the pastor and told him who I was and what we had in mind. And he said, oh, that'd be wonderful, And I had no idea how much money it was going to be. But anyway, it was several $1,000s. And we sent the check we got a cashier's check and sent it to the minister, and he wrote back a letter on that money was so they were so thankful to get it, and it meant so much. And believe it or not, it took them over the top where they paid off their note at the bank, and they had a note burning ceremony. Wow. It was so cool that our guys were able to do that. And that's something, fans hear about players making millions of dollars, and they got all these nice cars, and they're on private jets and everything else. They don't hear all that stuff, and I think that's something that should have been told, but it was kind of private back at that time.
That's pretty good, huh, Chuck?
Really cool.
Yeah, the thing that I would remember most of all, I can see my mother, how happy she would be, just to think somebody thought enough of her to donate money to the church. And also, and what's Frank talking about, actually they paid this church off, and in the process it also helped them get started on building another church.
Wow.
And I haven't been back home in a long time, and I'm sure that they probably got it built by now.
Well, that's great stuff.
Probably named it after you too.
Probably, more likely. If they were smart, they would have.
That's great stuff.
Well, obviously there are a lot of moments I've spent with Charlie, but the one I still get asked about to this day is after the NLCS when they beat the Dodgers and Charlie's mom had passed away. And he talked about how she said right before she died, "You're going to win this thing." And it was a memorable day because they beat the Dodgers. For me, I grew up watching the Dodgers and was a full-blown Phillies fan at that point. But Charlie's, the sentimental moment that he had and the way that team bonded together during that postseason was something really special. And you just could feel that they were going to they were going to win. And he really felt the momentum of his mom behind him, and I think the whole team did. And so that was a really special moment I shared with him.
We heard some great stories today, and we hope you guys enjoyed them. You never know where you're going to catch us next. For Charlie and Larry, I'm Sam Wilson, and we'll catch you down the line.
Down the Line is brought to you in part by the Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board. Visit Montgomery County's main streets. Find out more at makeitmainstreet.com.